right. Just wait to see it's gone live. Maybe you'll be able to tell me too if it's gone live.
Yeah, my internet's not connecting right now. It's always something. I swear I need to get a tattoo that says that.
I just want to make sure there's no echo in the audience.
Come
See.
on, dude.
Okay, it looks like we're on. Hey everyone. Can you guys just give me a sound check and let me know if I'm echoing? I just want to make sure that I've got the sound settings all correct. So if you guys in the chat could just give me a quick message, let me know it sounds good. Okay, awesome. Thanks you, Celestial. All right. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for being here. I'm really excited to have Kate Awakening on the show. Kate, welcome to my
Thank you
channel.
so much. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just a big fan of like your work and how active you are on Twitter. And it's interesting because like I've been joined to Twitter since gosh, I know who knows when, like maybe 2007, but I didn't really start using it until last year. And I find it a way more effective platform for truth expansion.
It definitely is, and it's just completely different. I made the mistake of going on Facebook the other day, and it was just a wasteland. It was so scary. I'm like, no, get me back on Twitter.
It really is. I don't like Facebook at all. It just feels dead. It feels dead.
It does. It's people are just like emoting too much on there. It's all just emotions, and you get into discussions and whoever is the most offended wins. That's how Facebook operates,
Oh my
it
gosh. And maybe
seems.
we can talk about that because it kind of goes into alignment with what we're going to be talking about. So, everyone, I was watching one of Kate's live streams a couple weeks ago and she got really vulnerable on it. She was just really authentic and kind of showing, I guess, a little bit more of a softer, painful side that you were experiencing at that time. And as anyone who's part of my channel knows, I have a Raw and Real series where once a month I put out a video that I just try and be as raw and vulnerable as I possibly can because, well, for me personally, it's a side I don't typically share with people. I try to stay strong and always show like I've got it together. But the reality is that we all go through pain, and I feel like part of the reason we're not connecting is because a lot of us are hiding that vulnerability. And it's just, to me, it's so important for us to like really be as truthful and honest and authentic as possible at these times that I just really enjoyed that live stream with you, and I just knew I wanted to have you on the channel. And something like, this idea of the truth being uncomfortable is, I think, becoming ever present in our awareness individually and collectively because let's face it, no, none of us want to talk about the truth. If you think about like you may even want to tell someone you're not interested in them that you're dating. You're like, you don't want to tell them, you try to sugarcoat it. And we're always trying to avoid the truth because we're so afraid of hurting someone or maybe hurting ourselves. What has been your experience lately with your own truth as this whole awakening's happening?
Well, it is hard, and I guess it is. I know that it's hard for a lot of people to be vulnerable. For some reason, that's like the only thing in life I excel at. I can be vulnerable. I think it has something to do with the fact that, well, first of all, it's worked for me my whole life. I've been surrounded by caring people that were, uh, you know, helpful to me. I could collapse. I could, fall to pieces, and people would take care of me. But I know that it does make some people uncomfortable. That has come up a lot in my life. Um, I am I am both like I am comfortable with the truth, but I am also like uh my manners sometimes get in the way, and I'm like, I don't know what's right here. Like, I want to be honest, I want to be truthful, but also like there are manners. So I don't know. It's been interesting, like, because I've never been as vulnerable as I've been lately, and so this has been a very interesting lesson to me about because I am one of those people that if you come to me and you're vulnerable, I dig it. I really do. And I'm finding out that not everybody is like that.
No, it makes people really uncomfortable is what I've noticed.
Yeah.
I had an experience after putting out my last Ron reel where I had quite a few people reach out to me to make sure I was okay because it was probably my most raw that I've been. It was really, I was in the thick of what I was going through. And of course, tons of people were reaching out to me to make sure I was okay and just really appreciative. And that meant a lot to me that people would take the time to do that. But I had a couple well, I guess I should only say there was only like really one person who reached out to me who I hadn't spoken to in a few years. And we used to be really good friends. I considered this person a best friend at one point. And we do have different political viewpoints and worldviews and things like that, which is fine. It's not why we don't talk anymore. It's just, you grow apart. She lives on the other side of the world. And she checked in on me and I know deep down, like it was coming from a good place. She's a good person, but the way it was expressed to me was literally shaming my vulnerability. And it really took me by surprise. I'm like, wow, I don't know how this person perceived me being lost, me being like not living my true life, like all of these things that just did not make any sense and was a total, what's the word I'm looking for? But a very miscalculated perception of what my life is. And it made me realize like there must be something that this person is uncomfortable with their own vulnerability. Because when people do get uncomfortable, it's because there's something inside of them that they haven't wanted to really look at. Those darker aspects, the shadow work that I think a lot of us are being called to look at right now. I mean, I don't see how your outside world can't be reflecting your inside world. So when we look at the chaos and the destruction that's literally happening right now in this country particularly, it's because there's so much surfacing within us and some of us want to avoid that.
Yeah. Because the divide is so large right now, it seems like there's a viciousness there that people used to know better. The whole like do unto others thing has kind of gone out the window. I feel like people just feel so righteous in whatever it is that they believe that if you are the opposite of them now, they feel like it's just fair game to treat you however. And that's really sad.
Yeah, it is really sad. And I've noticed that if you don't toe the line, if you don't believe a certain way, that all of a sudden you're a bad person.
Yeah, that is definitely it. There is no longer like a agree to disagree. It is, me versus you now. And it comes from fear. Like ultimately everything is either stemming from fear or love. And that fear, they're so scared in that your beliefs are threatening to their life or to the world, and they just kind of go overboard with their reactions, I think.
Yeah. And I think we're in a very big spiritual war. This is a massive spiritual war that we're facing right now. I think if we're thinking along the lines of a movie, like we're at the climax. Like we're really there.
I really hope so. Oh my God, I hope so.
I know.
Because I can't take it much longer. I have my up days I actually am doing a lot better. Last month was probably one of the hardest months of my life ever. Just on every level. And, I would wake up sobbing and I would go to bed sobbing and I could hardly eat. And it was just, it was a mess. But also there weren't many people for me to lean on because everybody else that I knew was kind of going through something similar. Everybody seems to be having their I don't know if you want to call it karma, but everything is just being dumped on us. It's almost like, okay, the time is now. We've got to deal with all these things. The time has run out to like put it off till later. And so it seems like everybody is kind of in this vulnerable position right now, which can be a good thing, because if we can still lean on each other during this, it's actually beneficial in both directions. I love when my friends come to me and lay it on me and give me everything that they're going through, and I can help talk them through it, because through talking to them I'm actually strengthening the resolve inside of me to, for things that I'm going through or will go through, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
So we do strengthen each other.
we do. I think that's the whole part of, if we want the truth to come out on like from a justice perspective, right? We want the people who have, done the worst acts of humanity, committed the worst acts of humanity against our children, against just people in general, against countries. That truth, in order for it to come out, we have to be okay with our own truth coming out. We have to be willing to look at the darker shadows within us and accept that within others so that it can like surface and heal.
Yeah, it's true to be able to forgive yourself, and to be able to forgive others. That is like the first step. And also, I find that having a sense of humor about myself really takes a lot of the pressure off. I do have some of these girlfriends that, I mean, they know every embarrassing thing. Like, you would just look at me completely different if you knew some of the stories that these people knew about me. I mean, like, oh my God. Um, just in my life, and these things that like would probably just be gut wrenching to me and make me not, make me lose sleep and all of that, to be able to tell somebody is so freeing. And not only just to tell somebody, but have them still like you afterwards, is massive in letting that pressure go. And yeah, I do think that being able to laugh at yourself is completely imperative.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. We can't take each other so seriously all the time. And I think that's kind of one of the problems of where we're at collectively right now is everyone's taking everything so seriously. And coming back to you talking about this idea of being offended, and how I talked about this a couple years on my channel, about how it's the most disempowering thing to tell someone that they've offended you, because you've literally given them power over your emotions. And what you're saying is that until you like make me feel better, I'm stuck here.
Yeah.
And that's so disempowering to like give your control of your own emotions over to someone else based on like something they said.
Yeah, it's true. Everybody is just walking around offended now. It is actually really, really hard to offend me if I think about it. I don't get offended easily, so that's pretty good. Another thing that I think helps is, going back to your correlation to what is going on a global scale, not just like our personal lives, but globally, is forgiveness. Uh, One of the things with my friends that I have luckily established like a good kind of name for myself is that I'm not judgmental. My friends know that they can come to me with literally anything, and they're not going to get judgment. And even if it's something terrible, even if it's something that they probably deserve judgment for, they'll give themselves the judgment, or life will, correct it. That's not my place. But there's going to have to be a lot of just forgiveness when it comes to just this terrible wound that is going on our planet. We are going to have to forgive people that have done terrible things. That's not to say that we're going to say that it's okay what they did, but if we don't forgive them, if we don't find the humanity in them, then that's us harboring those nasty feelings, and we are going to keep that feeling harnessed here on our planet.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think, that place of not holding judgment is so important in people feeling safe. And right now, there is such a huge issue with people feeling safe. And that this actual solar eclipse that's coming up this Sunday is all about that. It's the conflicts of our own truth that are arising within us that no longer align with us and don't feel good, like in us feeling safe. And, working with clients and all of that to help them go through their own shadows. When someone knows that they're free to like say anything they need to, and they're not going to be judged, it is such a liberating feeling for them, like as you were saying, like to get that stuff off your chest, to no longer carry the burden alone, and to finally allow like healing to come in, to have awareness and acknowledgement of that is so important. It totally shifts everything. And there's a reason why they say that statement, like the truth will set you free. It literally does. And we're in a place right now where we all want justice, and we want to liberate this planet from the darkness that has been plaguing it for millennia. And in order to do that, I think we're all going to have to make some concessions in how we hold space for all of this truth to come out.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I was thinking about some of the things, like dealing on a personal level with all of the ugliness, just little things that you can do to take care of yourself. And, that goes beyond even, obviously talking to people is one of the most important things. Our human connections, I think, is one of the most important reasons why we're on the planet, is to help each other and to accept help from people. And even just little things like taking salt baths, like, when I'm feeling really low and down, and even if it sounds like, oh, that's not going to help me, or like taking a walk, getting into nature, hanging out with children or animals. These are the kinds of things that even when you're super low, it will pull you back out, and you will feel a little bit stronger, because when you're feeling scared, when you're feeling vulnerable, it's hard to make yourself even more vulnerable by like talking about it with somebody. So find little ways that you can lift yourself up first, and then like maybe you'll feel strong enough to, get to that honest place with somebody.
Yeah. I'm curious, is there anything that comes to your mind recently, even if it's just in the last year or so, of a truth that's kind of surfaced within you that you were kind of avoiding, but, something that you kind of had to look at, that when you did, there was some sort of liberation from it?
There is something that's super personal that just smacked me right in the head this year. And I can't really talk about that, but yes, I could probably think of several of those, to be honest.
So, okay, so you don't have to tell the details, but did you find yourself avoiding the confrontation, or avoiding like maybe wanting to say what you really wanted to say? Were you able to say what you wanted to say, like any of that?
Yeah, eventually. And remarkably, it actually came from that super vulnerable place that I was just like, whatever, I'm so broken right now. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to come out with it. And so in a way, that vulnerability kind of like, created the perfect atmosphere for me to actually, because if you're holding on to all of these things and then, you're not going to get there. But like, if everything is just like collapsed around you, like life is on fire, you're just like, whatever, I'm just going to go for it now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, man, it's so hard because there's so many things that I think are really coming to the surface right now. And it's these truths that really we all want to kind of avoid because they do make us feel really uncomfortable. It's like, no, I just want to pretend that's not there right now. Like I'm just going to, I don't know, open a bottle of wine, or I'm going to go watch a TV show to take my mind off it, or I'm just going to like go out with my friends. Like there are so many countless ways that our egos try to avoid what's kind of coming to the surface. And for me, what's really become so apparent in this spiritual war that we're in this great awakening of humanity, is that when we look at people, there's so much red pilling that needs to happen for the collective to really understand how much they're giving away, like what they don't even realize they're consenting to, and how it's affecting all of us and our own liberties being stripped away. And it's really come into my awareness that obviously I can't control anyone else. I can't control how they think, what timing their awakening's happening at, how they're going to see things and all that. All I can do is shift my own energy and help myself be more comfortable with the truth. And I think when we talk about it from like an energetic point of view, because I know you're like a big fan of Nikola Tesla and all of that, it's like there's so much power. We're in such powerful times. I do believe that we're getting a lot of assistance from the galactics. I do believe that the times that we're in right now are so hyper accelerated that if you can go within and start looking at some of the truths that make you uncomfortable that you haven't wanted to see, you will start to shift the timeline of other people around you awakening, starting to wake up and see the shifts that they need to see to help liberate this planet.
Yeah, we underestimate our own power just by, um, just by being, just by taking away our consent for these things, just by being honest. We don't have to be confrontational. We just have to hold that space in ourselves. And when we do, it's inspirational to others. I had a friend the other day that likened that to like if you're in PE or if you played a sport and like somebody was late or somebody was goofing off and then everybody had to run laps. That's what it feels like right now. We're just looking at the rest of the people in this class like, are you kidding me right now? Because we're going through all of this because of you idiots are not awake. Meanwhile, I wasn't even awake 2 years ago. So I was one of those idiots. And it's really frustrating, though, because it's not just running laps. We know that there are very dark things that are going on our planet. And it's hard not to just like want to shake these people and be like, wake up. But everybody's gonna, pop at their own time. It's like popcorn. You like cooking it, and everybody's popping, and then you like 5 minutes later, like there are just ones like kind of going off late. Everybody's gonna pop at their own time. Everybody's gonna wake up at their own time. I don't know what's gonna be the thing to get them, but I know that we need to just feel very confident. Like we don't all. It's not all of our duties to go out and red pill 500 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's good enough that we are keeping clear ourselves, and we will be inspirational. And it might take a while. I've seen some of the seeds that I planted, a year and a half ago, that I was like, this person is never going to get it. Those people are starting to get it now. So, a year might seem like a long time, but it really isn't.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, time flies when I think about this whole Q movement, and I'm like, it feels like it just started a year ago, but it's like 3 years now we're coming up on, right?
Yeah, it's been 2.5 years. Almost, yeah, 2.5 years.
Yeah, and so two questions. One, what do you think about that Q post today with the Trump iceberg of like the silent majority? How big do you think the silent majority is right now?
It's massive. It really is, because I mean, it's global, which doesn't really help us as far as getting him elected because those people can't vote. But that just shows the sheer size of it. That there are Trump fans, like people that wear MAGA hats that live in other countries. Like, when would you ever see that? And somebody else being a fan of somebody else's president, in a different country. And I've seen a big shift on social media as far as the tides turning, in the direction of Trump and supportive of Trump and celebrating him rather than, I mean, you still see posts where people are making fun of him, but you also have to understand how inflated those people's voices get amplified artificially and ours get suppressed.
Yeah.
So even though right now you could go online and it's like, it almost feels about even, that's not real.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's, and the point is to demoralize those who are the silent majority, which, in some days you can definitely feel that way,
Yeah.
But it's almost like I see that as, if you were to think about the loud minority, almost like the ego. It's like the toddler throwing their toys out of the pram. It's like, listen to me, look at me, I want to be acknowledged, I want to be seen, I want to be heard. And, when we look at our society, we're so trained to give the squeakiest wheel the oil. And how do we shift that? Because that needs to stop.
It totally does. Actually, it's funny. I was just talking about this with a friend about how in my life, because I'm no wallflower. I'm whatever, obnoxious, whatever you want to call it. But I also kind of have my whole life, even when I was a child, come across kind of like strong, like I can take care of myself. And I've noticed in my life that because of that, people will actually support everybody else other than me, even if that person is wrong. It's just like, I don't know, like they want to people will support what they see as the weak one, not what they see as the strong one. And that's a shame for sure. It sucked for me. I know that.
Well, it just takes it right back to the whole thing that we've been talking about. It's like people don't want to be uncomfortable with pain or truth, or, like it's just like, oh, well, let's just make it all nice and make it all go away.
Well, we've turned victimhood into a currency. And so, like, everybody's just so focused on, okay, who is the victim here? And sometimes there are no victims. Sometimes it's, there are just situations where two people don't see eye to eye or whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the whole victim mentality is, I just don't get it. Growing up through the 80s and the 90s, was all you ever heard about were all these inspirational like speakers coming out, and it's like basically like be the hero of your life, you can do anything, and basically anti-victim. And then all of a sudden, like where we're at, we're like putting victimhood up on a pedestal.
How did that change so quickly? Actually, I remember, it's funny you say that. I remember in middle school, they had a football player come and talk to us and was giving us this inspirational speech about how he had braces on his legs. And then here he was, this like NFL player, making millions of dollars, and he was just this pro athlete and whatever. It was actually O.J. Simpson. But it was still inspirational. But you're right. We were so, there were so many, say what you will about the 80s. We were kind of headed to a lot better place, which lets me know that, again, what the direction, this kind of like left-hand turn that we took as a society was artificial and completely,
manufactured.
Yeah,
completely manufactured. It's also really scary to see how easily it was done too, how quickly it was done, because it didn't take that much time. And I saw a quote where like there isn't a generation that can go by where you don't stop fighting for your freedoms and your rights, because it really can go away in a generation. Clearly, we've just seen it.
Well, they did. I mean, it did happen quickly, but I believe they were studying this for hundreds of years, and really perfecting the mind control and figuring out that you've got to start kids young, and taking over the schools, taking over the education, taking over the libraries, and changing history, and all of those things. Those were all dominoes in this long line. And so from our perspective, it was pretty quick, because in our lifetime there was such a shift. But they've been playing the long game for since the beginning of time, really.
Yeah. And now they're forced to speed that long game up really quickly.
Yeah, they don't know what hit them right now, which is funny.
Yeah, because everything's so messy. It's so messy. It's so like there's so many things that you can tell they're having to cut corners on how they would usually handle things. And clearly when there are so many more people awakened, everyone's on more high alert for looking out for all of this stuff that to basically catch the lie and the act.
Yeah. Actually, I think Tyler from Journey to Truth brought this up the other day when I was talking to him about how, look at the timeline for even 9/11 and how long it took people to like really, on a massive scale, start like questioning and like looking at these things. And then look at like, the pandemic. Look how quickly people started questioning and or like Jeffrey Epstein. That was one, that's a good example of just how quickly people are like, I don't know what this is, but it's not true. I don't know what the real story is, but I know that this is not we're not being given it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definite fuckery happening.
Full on.
So like, when we look at, what are your thoughts on what's happening in Seattle right now with Chaz and all of that? And I mean, when you look at that and considering like what we've seen over the last couple of years, what do you see as being its demise?
Well, in a way, I think that it's being allowed to happen by the white hats, if you want to call them. That, Q has said a few times now that sometimes you can't tell the people the truth. You have to show them. They have to see it for themselves. They could very easily turn off the water they had porta potties delivered to them, and they're making it very easy for these people to do that, which is like absolutely completely illegal, by the way. And so they are being, I believe, President Trump, same thing with like coronavirus and him kind of letting the governors take the reins, and it's being highlighted really who is failing miserably, and he's allowing them to fail miserably. He could very easily swoop in and change policies and things like that, but I believe that he's letting these things happen because it is waking people up. It is showing them like, there's part of the problem is that they have taken away our ability to think long term and really problem solve. It's all, everything is everything and right now. We're entertained every minute of the day. They did that stuff on purpose. And so these younger people, they get all of these notions in their mind that sound like, oh, it sounds like you're really thinking with your heart and coming from a great place. But if you're not also using your brain, you're going to end up doing more damage than you think you are. And you're going to end up in actually a worse place. So they have all these notions about how the country should be, ran, obviously not looking at history, because history tells us that these things are dangerous and they never work. But they're not looking at that. They're thinking, okay, this time, it's like the girl that like dates the guy who thinks she's going to change him, like I know he's an a-hole, but like I can fix him. Right. Yeah, we've all made that mistake, but I think it's interesting. I think it's going to play out for a little. I mean, they already need supplies. They're already finding out that they manufacture nothing, that they offer nothing. They can't even garden, for Christ's sake. Like, it's so funny. And, I think one by one, they're going to end up just like tucking their tail between their legs and going home. That is the people that are there genuinely. I don't know like what the percentage is. Like maybe there are people there that are being paid to be there,
Mm-hmm. Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
I would not doubt that once. In fact, I would expect it.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's like give a man enough rope and he'll hang himself. And I really think that's what's happening here right now. Yeah. And like I was watching, I think CJ Truth posted a video today on Twitter of this guy who just basically went into Chaz to check it out. And he's very apolitical. He doesn't really, he's very unbiased, and just kind of wanted to see for himself what was going on. And like the stuff footage that he showed is just really disturbing. It's really disturbing. It highlights a lot of the anger. It highlights actually a lot of the hatred that's coming out. And basically at the end of it, he's like, yeah, this isn't a party I want to stay at. Like, this is not where I'm hanging out. And no. I think his eyes were really open because it's not going well there right now at all.
Yeah. Well, it does sound like a very depressing place to be. And I mean, yeah, there were the videos the other day of like dodgeball gone wrong there. Like they can't even handle a game of dodgeball without it turning into like victimhood again.
Everyone's just so angry. Everyone's so angry that they're projecting all of their anger onto one another. Right. And no one wants to take personal responsibility for their own feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they eat each other too, by the way. They're all like kumbaya, but meanwhile, make one false step and everybody's going to turn against you. There's no solid ground to stand on there when everybody's just emotional, just these emotional babies who are just angry at the world. That's no platform to build anything
no
upon.
And it kind of like, I don't know how you feel about this, but honestly, it worries me about the future a little bit because there's a lot of unprogramming that has to happen there. Yeah,
but again, we're not getting a clear view of the actual percentages. When we think about the fact that, I mean, we see a bunch of examples of this, of, something going on and then, the cameras are all focused on just this one thing and you can't see everything else that's going on around it. You're just focused on whatever's going on here. That's a lot of what's happening too. And so of course you've got these angry people, and we see people, marching in the streets, but a lot of those people marching in the streets are just like you and me. They're not, I mean, they believe in something and they want to see changes. They are passionate, but they're not like angry or full of hate. They just want to see changes. And so you sprinkle in those provocateurs that make everybody seem like they just want to destroy everything. It can make it seem like the problem is a lot bigger than it is.
You're absolutely right. And I think that's one of the reasons why lately I've been actually staying off social media a little bit more than usual, just because I can't, like, the videos that are constantly being posted and just seeing such a lot of the destruction that's happening, whether it's between humans or buildings and humans or whatever it is, it hurts me to look at it. It really hurts me. And to constantly see that over and over, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not need to program my mind and my spirit with any of this stuff like on full blast.
Yeah, talk about programming, talk about, traumatizing us collectively. And that's another reason, not only to just make us feel defeated, like, oh, we've already lost this, we might as well go home, we might as well give up now. But also just to traumatize us like that. I don't watch it. I can't watch it either. I had people, when that really terrible video of the man getting beaten, with like the skateboard and stuff, or the guy that came out with the sword. I had several people send that to me, and I was like, I'm not going to watch it. I still to this day have not watched it. I can't. And I don't think that we need to. We understand what's going on. We don't have to see it with our own eyes. In a way, we need to protect ourselves from that, because that does get imprinted on your brain.
Well, here's the thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is that the trauma can sometimes be more significant to the person who views it than the person who receives it.
Interesting. Yeah,
And
it's true.
they've done a lot of studies on that and the PTSD, and visually that can be more impactful on someone than the actual experience, because the mind plays things over when you visually see it. Like, even that's why unfortunately, like with the child sex trafficking, while they'll make kids watch these acts of horror, because it completely traumatizes them more than the actual event if it were happening to them. And I'm not saying it's not horrific if it happens to someone, but there's something there where I think we all have to be aware of and be responsible with how much we're taking in visually, because it is actually creating PTSD in us down the road, like they tried to do with 9/11 and how they're trying to do with all of these events. And they're trying to make them cyclical, and so that they can keep, it's like I'm sure with any sort of mind controlled person, where you create like a song or an event or something that just triggers them, and they go off, and they're meant to do whatever it is they're meant to do. And I just feel like that's what they're trying to do to all of us collectively.
Yeah, I agree. And it's important for us to stay away from that, and, keep on top of things without having to view this stuff. And I do make a point too, when I come across something that is uplifting or joyful, or, somebody having a good time, I make a point to share those things, because it's important for us to get those feelings too. Unfortunately, the negative things get imprinted deeper into our subconscious than the positive things. They pack more of a punch. They leave more of an impact. So you need a lot of positivity, or you need other ways to deal with those traumas. You're not going to just like watch something negative and then watch something positive and have the positive thing erase the negative thing.
Yeah.
You need to do work on that.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if anyone's aware of this, but this actually came through, and I talked about it. Gosh, I don't know if I talked about it on one of my videos here or in my alchemy program, but one of the things that came through in one of my own Akashic Records sessions is because I was having vision problems with my eyes. I've noticed like a decline in my vision. And part of it is just being on a computer screen a lot more than usual, because that's where our work is. But they said to beware of what's coming through your screen, not just in what you're physically, like what you're watching, like we've just been talking about, like violence and all of that, but also that the technology, they're aware of where our eyes are, and that we're always on our phones, we're always on our computers. And there's certain technology being used to enter through our eyes to distort I don't even know how to say it, but distort our well-being, distort our mental well-being, our emotional well-being, our spiritual well-being, that we're not even realizing. It's like the subtle programming of like repeating things over and over in a song, and how like it gets into you. Like they can do that visually through the screens, and because they know where people are going, I think they're using it through certain television programs and movies right now.
It makes sense. I mean, they do it through music when they change the, whatever the vibration, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? The
Frequency.
442. Yeah, the frequency. Thank you. Well, it becomes disruptive to our frequency. And so it would make sense that they would do the same thing visually as well.
Yeah.
They're just always doing stuff to us, leave us alone.
Oh, Kathleen's saying there's a patent to manipulate our nervous system through TV and comply terminals.
Oh,
Interesting.
that's fun.
Yeah. So, like, for me, just before we cap this off, like, I've just been really making sure that I don't watch anything disturbing or emotionally upsetting to me in the evening because I feel like that's when we're less, like, we're tired. You get tired as the day goes on and you're less as aware. And I've been making sure, like, before I go to night, like, when I go to sleep, that I'm kind of programming my mind with really positive things that can hopefully override some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And
Well,
that is an important time of night too, like right before you go to bed, and to like actually writing things down in the morning too. When you wake up, you're still in that venting process. And so, one of the things, like I remember in middle school when all my friends and I were into like witchcraft, or so we thought, to write things down on a piece of paper and then like burn it or like flush it down the toilet. There is actually something kind of freeing about that, and there is kind of a venting process that happens with that. You do kind of tend to release things. I don't know why, but it seems to work.
oh my God, you're just triggering a memory that I had of a dream a couple of months ago that I'm now realizing was like a precognizant dream of Chaz. It was like,
Whoa.
yeah, and I want to ask you too this, but I had this dream where I was walking through a city and it was really dirty and it was just like, it just seemed like really trashy. And I was like, where am I right now? And I was with a couple of friends and we were walking along a sidewalk. And I remember everyone like lined up along sidewalks in long lines, waiting for things, and graffiti everywhere. And in the sidewalk, there would be like these almost like black squares that would come up like pillars and then go back down. And as they came back up, someone would come up on the pillar and bring them up to the street level. And they just start walking. And everyone was kind of like automatons. And I was like, where am I right now? Like, this is crazy. Like, I don't want to be in this timeline. Like, I don't know where this is. Like, get me out of here. It was really freaky. And now it's kind of like, very similar to what we're seeing with Chaz.
That's weird too, because they did that black square campaign on all of
That's
the social media.
right.
And then there's also like, if they were three-dimensional, the black cubes, obviously there's a lot of symbolism there with those.
They were. Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. That's so crazy. How have your dreams been? Have you been picking up anything like through your dream state on like what's kind of going on here, like going into other timelines, things like that?
My dreams are so lame. My dreams are super duper lame. Every once in a while, I get one that's like kind of interesting, but you would just like, no. And I haven't been remembering my dreams a lot, but I'm also like waking up exhausted. So I almost feel like, am I going somewhere? Am I like doing something rather than sleeping? Because my dreams are gone. I feel like I didn't get any sleep when I did. It's not like I was tossing and turning all night. So I have no idea.
Yeah, I believe that we are. I believe that what's happening in our dream state, part of the reason, one of the intuitive messages I received when this all started to happen with COVID and everything was that one of the reasons why they were locking us down is so that all of us who are awakened can't interact with people to do the work that we need to help awaken, and through whatever various ways that is, like helping humanity in that kind of sense. And so what was happening is that through our own consciousness, we're going into other timelines and doing the work through other timelines consciously. So it's like you may be able to keep us in our homes, but you can't keep our consciousness in our body, kind of thing. And I got a lot of messages from people on my channel that were experiencing the same thing, helping kids, rescue kids from pedophilia rings, pornographic rings, things like that, going through tunnels. And so I do think that a lot of us are doing a lot of the work in other timelines. And
Yeah.
I've said, like, there is no timeline a pedophile is going to be able to hide in these days.
Yeah, no way. I know that when the lockdown happened, and a lot of these things are happening in the world, one of the most frustrating feelings was just like sitting on my butt at home and like not being able to do anything. and keeping us inside, keeping us away from each other. That has been really hard. So if I have figured it out somehow while I'm sleeping to like take off somewhere, I'm sure that I'm doing that.
Yeah. Well, it's been so great to have you on the channel. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Do you want to leave the audience on a positive note? Is there anything you'd like to tell them, like what you think is happening coming up to the election and everything like that?
I have no doubt in my mind that we're winning, that the light is winning. And I know that we're in a really tough place right now. Everybody is, on a personal level, on a global level, but it's still like, find ways to have fun. Like we can still have fun through this. We can still laugh through this and connect and make friends and all of those great things that make life beautiful. And just focus on those things as much as you can right now. And then come November, I really think there's going to be a lot of this is lifted, and we're going to have a lot of positive things to look forward to.
Yeah. And I feel like let's stop giving so much attention to all these like squeaky wheels.
Yeah.
You know?
Amen.
Like let's just kind of like focus on like what needs to really happen here. So thanks so much, Kate, for coming on the channel, and thanks everyone for showing up. All of Kate's information is in the description below. Please follow her on Twitter, go over to her YouTube channel and subscribe. And thanks so much for being here, guys.